Netflix aren't happy with this couple.
That's right. A source told American journalist Rob Shutter that this deal is dead.
Meghan Markle is standing on the wrong side of it because what started as whispers about tax filings has exploded into a transatlantic storm, and now the heirs, the royal household, and Prince William himself have stepped into the arena.
$23 million worth of unsold jam. That's what Meghan Markle's stuck with right now. And while the IRS hovers over her so-called charity like hawks, what's been uncovered about the Archwell Foundation is straight up shocking. The receipts don't lie, and they're brutal. I've been saying this for years, haven't I? Finally, the truth's spilling out, and it's turning into one of the worst weeks Harry and Meghan have ever faced. Their little empire, the one they've been trying to make shine, is cracking apart in plain sight. We're talking about a charity officially listed as delinquent in California, a lifestyle brand buried under mountains of jam that nobody's buying, and a dramatic security crisis that's about to drain millions from British taxpayers. But here's the kicker: the numbers. The cold, hard records showing exactly what's been going on behind those glossy doors. Once you see these figures, you'll understand why I've been calling this out for so long. It's not gossip, it's math. So let's break down what Archwell really is, shall we? Because Meghan and Harry love to paint it as some glowing humanitarian mission, changing lives, making an impact, and saving the world. All that PR sparkle, but the truth, way darker than they'd ever admit. They walked away from the royal family, jetted off to California, and then what? They launched the Archwell Foundation, conveniently named after their son, Archie. And ever since, the whole thing's looked more like a brand-building operation than a charity mission. How touching, right? So inspiring at least on the surface. They promise to show up and do good, preaching about compassion, service, and changing lives. Beautiful words, sure, but all smoke and mirrors. What they don't tell you is that Archwell isn't some shining charity. It's a tax shelter, plain and simple, a slick PR stunt built to make them look like saints while they live it up in Montecito's luxury bubble. And guess what? Their own numbers expose everything. Let's talk 2024 financials. The receipts are in. Total expenses, $5.1 million. Sounds impressive until you see the income. Just $2.1 million in donations, down from $5.3 million the year before. That's a nosedive. The cash flow's drying up, donations are tanking, and people have clearly stopped buying the fairy tale. Can you really blame them? But hold on, it gets uglier. Nearly $913,000 blown on salaries for just 2 people. That's almost $500,000 each. What exactly are they doing? Sending thank you emails and sipping lattes while pretending to save the world? It's outrageous. And here comes the bombshell. $2.9 million listed as other expenses. Security, travel, admin costs. You know what that really means, right? Their security detail, their luxury getaways, the 5-star hotels, the private jets, all funded under the charity's name. Every line item screams lifestyle spending, not charity work. Meanwhile, the money that actually reached real causes, a measly $1.25 million. Let that sink in. They spent $5 million, but only gave about $1 million to real charities. The rest? Keeping their image polished while living like royalty, without the crown. So where did that missing $4 million vanish to? Meghan's designer wardrobe? Harry's never-ending court battles? Or maybe the insane upkeep on their Montecito mansion, the one that costs a fortune just to keep the lights on? Let's be real, this doesn't look like charity. It looks like a scam, plain and simple. And people are bailing out of this mess faster than rats jumping off a sinking ship. By 2024, Archwell went from 5 staffers down to just 2. That's a massive 60% drop. 3 people either got sacked or walked away right in the middle of their flashy rebrand to Archwell Philanthropies. You know what that screams? Trouble. The ship's going down and the crew's escaping while they still can. Now let's talk about the 2 big departures, James Holt and Meredith Maines. James Holt was their propaganda master, the one who's been spinning stories for Harry and Meghan since the royal fallout. He was the guy twisting every blunder into a victory, turning PR disasters into fairy tales and feeding the press those glowing lines. But even he had enough. Word is, he's bolted back to the UK. Some folks think he's quietly paving the way for Harry's comeback across the pond, but honestly, it looks more like he just wanted off the ride before the whole thing blew up. Then there's Meredith Maines, sharp, professional, brought in to clean house and make Archwell look legit again. She was supposed to save the brand, polish their image, and give it some credibility. But what happened? She quit, and not after months, within hours. Why? Because she was allegedly told to cover up that infamous Kardashian party mess? Remember that one? Meghan and Harry showing up at Kris Jenner's 70th birthday bash while their PR team tried to claim they filled out some "no photos, please" form. What a circus. Here's the kicker. That "no photos" form never existed. Total fabrication. Meredith was told to go public and lie straight-faced for them. And right after that, she was gone. Vanished. When even your professional spin doctors can't stomach working for you anymore, you know you've officially hit rock bottom. But wait. Things take an even crazier turn. While Archwell's falling apart at the seams, Meghan's shiny side hustle, her big business project American Riviera Orchard, also known as Ever, just got exposed in a jaw-dropping way. You won't believe how this came out. Someone on Reddit, shout out to the internet detectives, stumbled upon a website glitch that spilled all the tea, and it's wild. So here's what happened. If you tried adding a ridiculous number of items to your cart, say 100,000 jars, the site would literally tell you how much stock she's still got sitting around. And brace yourself, it revealed she's sitting on $23 million worth of unsold jam. $23 million. Now let's break that down. She's got 137,455 fruit spread gift boxes just collecting dust in some warehouse somewhere. Want to guess how many sold in 24 hours? Go on, guess. 26 jars, that's it, 26. If she keeps selling at this pathetic rate, and honestly, that's me being nice, it'll take her 9 years to sell it all. 9 years. And remember, these are perishable goods. We're talking jams and spreads that'll spoil, grow mold, and end up tossed into a landfill before they ever reach a breakfast table. What a disaster. But the flops don't stop there. She's also got 44,000 jars of orange marmalade, 62,000 of those so-called signature birthday candles nobody's buying, 80,000 packs of flower sprinkles, and 39,000 peppermint teas sitting untouched. Whole mountains of unsold merch and not a single sellout moment in sight. What kind of lifestyle empire is that supposed to be? This woman's got millions upon millions locked up in jam jars that will never sell. It's business suicide, total madness. Any half-decent consultant would scream, this is catastrophic inventory management. You just don't order hundreds of thousands of perishable goods without testing the market first. That's business 101. And here's where it gets seriously shady.
They said she had the name, the platform, the press, and the numbers were dismal. They're just waiting for the credits to roll. They'll let it expire quietly. There's no appetite for anything new. They said that the interest just is not there anymore. They used to be cool, hip, and buzzy, and now they've become background noise. And I think that we've seen that recently within 2025. It just felt like this chaotic release of Meghan Markle brands, new names for everything.
When As Ever launched back in April 2024, remember the wild headlines? Meghan's jam sells out in hours. Markle's products flying off the shelves, it was everywhere. But let's be real, it was all fake hype, a complete media illusion. She didn't sell out because of massive demand. She sold out because she barely stocked anything to begin with. Word is she only had a few hundred units ready, just enough to sell out fast and make it look like a sensation. Then she ran to the glossy magazines, Harper's Bazaar, InStyle, and whoever else would listen, bragging about her instant success. Classic PR play. But here's where it all backfired. She used those fake numbers to justify ordering hundreds of thousands more units. In her mind, it was simple math. If I sold out 500 jars overnight, imagine what I could do with 150,000. Except those first buyers were just curious. They wanted to see what all the fuss was about. And once they did, game over. The jam turned out to be totally meh. And for $42 a jar, please, that's 42 pounds for jam that barely tasted special. So the buzz died instantly. No repeat buyers, no word of mouth, no hype left. Now she's sitting on mountains of unsold stock, drowning in her own overconfidence and too proud to admit the obvious. This whole thing was a flop from day one. And here's where it all connects. Straight to her Netflix show with Love Meghan, which turned out to be an absolute disaster. The whole point of that show was to boost her lifestyle brand, cooking, entertaining, showing off her perfect home life, but it totally flopped. Hardly anyone tuned in. The first episode got a temporary spike, sure, but only because everyone wanted to see that awkward meltdown with Mindy Kaling. You know, the one where Meghan demanded to be called Meghan Sussex instead of Markle. That clip went viral for all the wrong reasons. After that, nothing. Total silence. Viewership tanked and nobody cared anymore. Yet now she's decided to release a cookbook based on recipes from that same failed show. But come on, cookbooks only sell when the show is hot. Dropping it 6 months later when everyone's moved on is straight up rookie behavior. It's amateur hour. And here's where things get even messier. Half the recipes in that book are allegedly lifted from Martha Stewart and Joanna Gaines. Word on the street is Martha's furious over the so-called pop pasta situation. If Meghan dares include that recipe in print, she's facing a lawsuit that'll make her wish she stuck to jam jars. But beyond the drama, this is where it turns serious. While As Ever is sinking and Archwell is crumbling, the federal government has finally taken notice. Turns out, the Archwell Foundation hasn't filed proper tax documentation in 3 years. 3 years for a charity? That's a massive red flag waving in neon lights. And just as the heat started building, what did they do? They quietly rebranded to Archwell Philanthropies and switched to a fiscal sponsorship model. Translation, they changed the structure so another organization technically handles their funds. A sneaky move that makes it way harder to trace where the money's really going. You know what that setup really means? It's a perfect way to hide the money trail. That new fiscal sponsorship move basically buries their financials under another organization. Less transparency, fewer questions, and way harder to follow the cash. And the timing? Oh, it's way too suspicious to ignore. But here's the part they can't hide. They've allegedly been using charity donations to fund their personal lifestyle. That eye-popping $2 million security bill? Paid through Archwell? Travel costs? Archwell, admin expenses. Yep, Archwell again. It's all running through their charity. And that's not just shady, it's illegal. You can't use a registered 501c3 nonprofit to pay for personal luxuries or private protection. That's straight up tax fraud. And that's exactly why the IRS is now circling them like hawks. If investigators confirm what people already suspect, Meghan and Harry could be facing criminal charges, not PR scandals, not bad headlines, real legal trouble. This could get ugly fast. But here's where it goes from bad to corrupt. Back in 2021, Archwell somehow pulled in $13 million. $13 million for a brand new foundation. Doesn't that sound odd? People have been asking the same thing. Where did that money actually come from? Reports point toward USAID, the United States Agency for International Development. That's government funding meant for real humanitarian projects, things like disaster relief or education programs in struggling regions. But whispers are saying something darker, that Archwell acted as a pass-through, taking in government cash and redirecting it to political organizations, not real charities. If that's true, that's not philanthropy and that's manipulation of public funds, and it's a whole new level of scandal. That's not charity, that's money laundering. We're talking about taxpayer dollars being funneled through a fake philanthropy to bankroll political causes. It's outrageous. And here comes the twist. In 2024, that USAID funding suddenly got cut off. And guess what happened right after? Archwell's donations nosedived from $5.3 million down to $2.1 million. You don't need to be a detective to see the connection. That's no coincidence. They were completely dependent on government money, our money, to keep this entire operation alive. The moment that pipeline dried up, the whole setup collapsed like a house of cards. Every shiny headline, every humanitarian project, all smoke and mirrors. And just when the scrutiny started heating up, suddenly Harry's got a stalker problem. How incredibly convenient, right? Here's how the story goes. Harry's back in the UK for a court appearance. A woman approaches him. His security jumps in, and within hours, the headlines explode, claiming she's a dangerous stalker posing a credible threat. But there's a massive catch. This woman isn't some random stranger. She's actually a known Sussex squad fan, someone who's been photographed with Harry multiple times. She's met him at Invictus Games events, like in Germany, in Canada, even in Nigeria. She's been following their public events for years. A super fan, not a stalker, and yet now, suddenly, she's being painted as a serious threat? Oh, come on, pull the other one. This whole thing reeks of setup. Here's what's really going on. Harry needs to prove he faces real danger to get taxpayer-funded armed security in the UK again.
What does this mean, Archwell philanthropies? Where are they going with this?
Well, I'm sure Harry didn't choose that title because he couldn't even spell it, let alone know what it is.
Harsh.
Harsh but true. So I don't know. You know, the most important thing about branding, and I'm in PR allegedly, is you get a brand, you stick to it, so it's embedded in people's psyche, not change it every 2 minutes. So I don't know whose advice that they're taking, but it wouldn't be the advice that I would give.
So what's the easiest way? Manufacture a stalker scare. They package it up, present it to the Royal and VIP Executive Committee as evidence, and guess what? According to insiders, it worked. What a convenient coincidence for someone desperate to get his security bill paid by the public. Now here's the kicker. Harry's about to get his royal security approved again. That means British taxpayers are on the hook for millions to protect him. And people across the UK are furious, completely livid. Because let's be honest, everyone can see what's really going on here. As ever is crashing, Archwell is falling apart, their Netflix deal's drying up, and Spotify already dropped them faster than a bad single. Every major income stream they've had is either gone or about to vanish. Meanwhile, they're bleeding money on that Montecito mansion, shelling out for private security, and keeping up an outrageously expensive lifestyle they simply can't afford anymore. So what's Harry's grand plan? To crawl back toward the royal fold. But it's not that easy, is it? He's burned every bridge behind him. Remember the tell-all spare? He shredded his family in that book. He accused the royals of racism on Oprah, called his own brother his arch nemesis, and dragged the palace through the mud. There's no walking that back with a smile and a handshake. So now he's looking for leverage, and the security claim is his golden ticket. If he can get official armed protection funded by the UK government, he can spin it as being welcomed back into the royal fold. And from there, maybe, just maybe, that opens the door to reconciliation with King Charles, and let's be real, to royal money. It's not about family bonds, it's about financial survival. This isn't some heartwarming tale about missing his dad or wanting his kids to know their grandpa. This is about cash, connections, and control. They're broke, they're desperate, and they're looking for a bailout. Plain and simple. But here's the twist. The British public sees right through it. People can't stand him now. The sympathy's gone, the respect's gone, and the nation that once cheered for him now just feels betrayed. People across the UK are struggling, crushed by the cost of living crisis, drowning in energy bills they can't afford, and working multiple jobs just to keep food on the table. And now they're being told their hard-earned tax money might go toward protecting a multimillionaire who ditched his country, trashed his family, and jetted off to California to live in a mansion? No wonder people are furious. Look at the contrast. Princess Anne, one of the hardest working royals out there, only gets security when she's on official duty. Even Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie don't have automatic protection. But Harry, who's not even a working royal anymore, wants 24/7 armed guards funded by the very taxpayers he turned his back on. It's infuriating. And the backlash? It's exploding. People are talking about protests, demanding King Charles strip Harry's titles, and warning that if this goes through, it could be the beginning of the end for the monarchy itself. And honestly, they might be right, because this whole mess exposes exactly what's wrong with Harry and Meghan's game. They want all the perks of being royal, the status, the security, the luxury, but none of the duty or responsibility that comes with it. They want to live in the US, do whatever they please, cash in on the royal name, and still expect the UK to treat them like active members of the firm. It's pure hypocrisy. Remember when they said they wanted privacy, a normal life away from the royal spotlight? Yeah, that didn't last long. Instead, they moved to California and rolled out interview after interview, documentary after documentary, and of course, tell-all book after tell-all book. They've made millions airing the family's dirty laundry, and now they want Britain to foot their security bill? The public's had enough. Completely done. That's not privacy, that's exploitation. So let's pull it all together, shall we? From top to bottom, this entire operation has been smoke and mirrors. Archwell Foundation, a scam from day one. Over $5 million in expenses, but barely $1 million went to real charities. Staff quitting left and right, the IRS circling with a possible fraud investigation, and the USAID funding cut off completely once the truth started leaking out. The whole thing exposed as nothing more than a fancy tax shelter dressed up as a philanthropic mission. Then there's as ever, Meghan's so-called lifestyle empire. A total catastrophe. She's got $23 million in unsold jams rotting away in warehouses. Only 26 jars sold in 24 hours, while 137,000 sit untouched collecting dust. At this rate, it'll take her 9 years to sell them all, and they'll be expired long before that. Netflix, a train wreck. With love, Meghan tanked right out of the gate. Spotify dropped them faster than they could say Sussex. The cookbook she's pushing, already DOA, with recipes allegedly lifted straight from Martha Stewart and Joanna Gaines. And now Harry's out here faking a stalker scare just to get British taxpayers to fund his private security while pretending it's all about safety and family. Please. The truth? They're broke. They're desperate. They're clawing to stay relevant while their empire collapses from the inside. The IRS is digging deeper, the UK public has completely turned on them, and their reputation shattered beyond repair. 2025 wasn't their big comeback. It was their final act. The so-called Sussex brand has crumbled, and the only success Meghan managed this year? A warehouse stacked with 137,000 jars of jam that nobody wants. That's not success. That's the punchline to their own story. It's over, finished, done. If you've made it this far, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment below. Let me know what you think. Are Harry and Meghan finally out of moves, or will they try one last stunt to stay in the spotlight?